Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are listening this LinkedIn Live. This is part of mine and Caroline's effort to bring a career care package to everyone in the unprecedented times that we find ourselves in. The idea is to provide support, guidance, insights, inspirations to job seekers who are struggling to find a job or who are currently in transition or who have lost jobs. So, we'll be coming to you live every day, every weekday, 3 p.m. Melbourne time. On your screen to make sure that we bring new guests, new ideas, and new inspirations to your life, because we believe that the unprecedented times that we find ourselves in requires unprecedented response, and this is our way to contribute. So I'm right now in India, lockdown until 14th of April, and hopefully we can, or I can fly the next or the following day after the lockdown is over. In Caroline, you are still in Painesville.
In sunny Gippsland, yes, very good. It's actually another beautiful day down here, and one of the things
Yeah.
I make myself do every day is go for a walk and have a look at the
Oh,
lake and enjoy the sunshine and take a
yeah.
little bit of a break in the downtime. Because, there's actually two schools of thought that I keep
Mm,
seeing and reading about.
mm,
One is use this time, be
yeah.
productive, make things happen, do your course, set yourself up, da 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 da. And then the other one is no, just chill, let it absorb, make a good decision, but make it slowly and reflect. So it's interesting that there are two streams of thoughts about how to
Yeah.
manage this situation as well. So yeah, I find it very interesting. So you can say that you're in lockdown, Nashad, but you're certainly not. They can't keep you down, can they?
No, no, they can't. And this is
Even if they
my
want to.
this is my dose of inspiration. I was talking to a few people yesterday, and I said, I suggested that maybe we got to find a routine, things
Mm,
that we want to do, or things that we might draw energy from. It
mm,
might just be pursuing something that you always wanted to do. It might be
mm,
listening to music. It might be learning a particular skill, on Udemy, Coursera, whichever place that you want to go to. But
mm,
finding that routine is incredibly important, and this is my routine. I wake up, finish my breakfast, everything, and I'm ready for my LinkedIn Live. So it
mm,
kind of kicks off my day, in a very positive way,
mm,
where I'm of service to other people and share
yeah.
things that are happening with me, and things which make sense to the job seekers. So
Mm,
without talking about much about ourselves, let's dive into this topic of being entrepreneurial, and being more sort of creative, being different. And there are a lot of quotes around this idea of being entrepreneur. But one of the quote that I always like to talk about is by Muhammad Yunus, the Nobel Peace Prize winner of Bangladesh. And he says that we were all entrepreneurs before the industrialization came. We had to hunt for food, and we have to fetch water. We had to do everything by ourselves. But once the industrialization kicked in, we became labor, and we became that we are just part of one industrial workforce. And we forgot that by instinct we are all entrepreneurs now. And I really want to also differentiate, and Carolyn, I will probably need your assistance with that. Is that being entrepreneur is different to be having an entrepreneurial thinking, and what we are talking about today is entrepreneurial thinking is a way for you to think like an entrepreneur, because what entrepreneurs are effective in doing is identifying problems, kind of consolidating a solution and presenting it.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Caroline, about when we say on being entrepreneurial? Is that what you mean? If you want to elaborate further on that.
Yeah, I guess it's an approach to creating or finding or creating a job. So it's not necessarily starting a business, but it is
Mm.
about being resourceful and having ideas, and also that other element about, I think you sort of touched on problem solving, but the other element about being an entrepreneur is to ask as well. So
Mm.
timing and asking. So yeah, that's what I generally mean about being
Mm.
entrepreneurial, to find a job. And when you think about it, the number of full-time jobs in Australia and
Mm.
other countries similar has been shrinking
Yeah.
over the last 50 years. And people in sort of the career research area talk about this idea of a portfolio career, where you have a number of streams that you're running at the same time. So you might have a part-time role and then a side gig as something else. And
Yeah.
so that kind of idea about being on, but to make that work, you actually need to be sourcing those opportunities for yourself. So yeah, that's what I mean about like
Mm.
being
Mm.
entrepreneurial, not to be
Yeah.
mistaken for running your own business or doing
That's
that, but
true.
certainly, being able to pick your moment, pick your mark, pick your approach, and don't be afraid to do it. So
Yeah.
that's basically what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And before you even start to kind of consider what approach to pick, and uh, you
Mm,
know, important thing is to understand what problems do you solve, where you're, because you got to be able to take the your skill assessment, or SWOT analysis, whatever that we want to say,
mm,
and find out what kind of core skill do you have, and what kind of problems. Number one is what kind of problems you have solved in the past. Now we are talking
mm,
about problems here. We are not talking about the tasks that you had, because there's
mm,
always a difference, right?
mm,
The task could be, I'll give you an example, and I think we previously also spoke about it. With the task of a reception is to pick up a phone call and an answer. That's what
mm,
reception task is. But the
mm,
problem that the reception solves is that reception improves the productivity of the
mm,
people in the office. But if the reception is aware of the problem that he or she solves, then it makes a hell of a difference to his or her approach
mm,
when they go out to find work, or how they present themselves and how they project themselves. So I think
mm.
that's the fundamental thing, is that what problems do you solve is the first question that you have to
Mm.
kind of answer. What are
Yeah,
your thoughts on how do people really kind of find
yeah,
what problems do they solve?
yeah. I mean, we talk in very theory terms a lot of the time, and I think people need to actually connect to what that means. This time last year, I wrote a blog post, and it was 10 ways that I'd created jobs and opportunities for myself. And one of them, and this is around, what problem do you solve? One of them was when I was studying, I studied a postgrad diploma in Australian tourism. And this is a great example if you don't have experience in the area, right? So a lot of people may need to change sectors or careers during this time. So this example is a great example of if you don't have experience in the area. So I'd just done my postgrad. I had no experience, but what I did while I was studying tourism was I interviewed I think it was the community director at
Mhm,
St Kilda Council at the time, because I was doing a research project or an assignment on the history of tourism in St Kilda as
mhm,
a destination, and all the types of ways that had changed, and the markets that it attracted, and how that had left its mark on the destination and that type of
yeah.
thing. So I interviewed the guy, and then after that, I followed up with him and I sent him a copy of the report that I wrote. And I said, thank you so much for giving me your information or insight. I really enjoyed writing this, and now I really feel like I've got a great understanding of St Kilda and what it's done. If you have anything that comes up within your department around, research or strategy, defining a strategy, I'd really love to help with that because I've got this background knowledge now. So I planted the seed for a couple of ideas, and he came back to me and he said, well, actually, what we need is our tourism strategy rewritten. Could you write it for us? So I'd looked at, I had this understanding of the destination. What would be the next step from doing that research? And, not knowing if they already had a strategy or not, but just planting a couple of seeds with that. So I could help with further research or, defining a strategy that came out of that. So that was my first job. And what I did, that was a great resume builder. It was like a month's job, but it was a great resume builder to go on my resume. And I had no experience in that area apart from the interest that I had in the town or the suburb and, the course that I'd done. And, that basically helped me go on to secure other interviews and jobs in that sector.
Yeah.
So that's an example of a problem. They didn't have it. So, I've got a few other examples as well, but I'm sure you've got similar examples from maybe your
Yeah.
clients.
In fact,
Sure.
yeah. One of the client that I worked with, and he came with significant experience in governance and finances, things that I did not even understand, honestly.
Mm,
And he came from Singapore. This goes 3-4 years back, and he finished the training program, and he was getting a little bit of interviews, and he started to go for the interviews, and then it disappeared. So after 6 months or so, it popped up on my LinkedIn that he started work, as such and such. So I reached out to him and I said, congratulations, you finally landed a job, blah blah blah. And he said, that's not a job, it's my own thing that I've started. And I said, that's
yeah.
fascinating. Well, how come? And he clearly said to me that he identified his skills are more into helping small family trust manage their governance and financial compliances and everything effectively. And he knew that particular area very well, and that's what he started to do, is that
Mm,
he started his own practice and approaching family trusts through
mm,
networking and connections. And he
yeah.
landed up in managing first family trust, a small one, but that occupied him for 3-4 days in a week.
Yeah.
But they said, Nishal, it's a job that I created
Yeah.
for myself. And they said there might be other people who are doing same thing. I'm not sure, but he was still able to create that.
Mm, yeah.
Something for him out of absolutely nothing. It wasn't something that he planned,
Yeah.
but eventually he thought that this requires me to think on my own feet, and
Yeah.
I need to take that amount of that amount of risk. And I really want to talk about that aspect, because that is one in your example, Caroline,
Mm,
and my client's example is clear, is that there is a risk associated with it,
mm,
because there is one aspect is that you've got predictable, normally how we are trained is that even though you and I know that we talk about it, there are many career practitioners talk about the aspect of similar things, but I think we are so tuned to do the things in which everyone is doing
yeah.
that
Can I give you
it takes
another
a
example?
while. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to give you another example that occurred to
Yeah.
me when you're saying um, one of my, actually, as a student at AIMS, they used to do
Mm,
job hunting, a skill
yeah.
max program for skilled migrants to get a job. Anyway, I did a presentation on how to get a job as a skilled migrant using LinkedIn, and he came to me and he said, Carolyn, I notice you've got an app on the iPhone, but you don't have an Android app. he said, how
mm,
about, I'm an app developer, how about I actually help you with that for free? And we didn't want him to work on that for free, so obviously we paid him. But
yeah,
once he'd done that, I started to recommend him to, and he was struggling to get work because he's from
yeah,
Iran. I started to recommend him in my network to people. I said, I've got this great guy that's just jumped in and helped me do something really quickly, and it's fantastic. And so I started to recommend him to my network, and he picked up other
mm,
short-term roles. And then he ended up getting a job internally at Optus doing that. And he's since gone back into his own business. But again,
yeah,
that act of, I notice you've got this, again, problem solving. I notice you've got this,
yeah,
but you don't have that. That's something that could
yeah,
help you.
yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely perfect example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's what we, so, going back to the same thing is that, I think most of us are aware of the problems that exist in the business world, but it's that one is observation, that you kind of
Mm,
talk to people, and you being curious about how organizations really function, what challenges do they have,
mm,
and then finding a way for you to position yourself,
mm,
is a classic sort of example. That's how management consultants,
mm,
in my work, is that they go and find a challenge that they think that exists,
mm,
and then they position themselves, and then they kind of propose a solution. That's what we meant by being entrepreneurial. And I want to go back to
mm,
the same thing that we started, is, entrepreneurs always identify problems,
mm,
and they are continuously looking at what better can I do,
mm,
help this client. And if you start
mm,
to think the employers that you work with as a customer, and
mm,
you as a service or as a problem solver, I think you may have a different thinking around it, and
mm.
it might also impact your questioning. It might also
Yeah,
impact your resume. It might also impact
yeah.
your LinkedIn profile. It might impact those things, but I think the thinking is
Mm.
critical in this part.
And I'll give you another example because it's
Yeah.
also one of the other things that is important, I think, is to look at the relationships that you have with people, and don't be afraid to ask. Sometimes not being afraid to ask. Like, I mean, I got my first job out of uni by ringing up my lecturer at the time, and just because I had a
Mm,
relationship, and asking, and he said no that day, but then the next day somebody contacted him, and I was top of mind, and I got my first job. But another example is, and again, we talk sort of being volunteering to find work, but volunteering is a great way to build up relationships. And I'll just give another example again from my own experience, because I think those are really, you know, the story
mm,
makes it real, basically. Um, I used to, when I was coming out of the corporate world, I did some volunteer work at the Asylum Seeker Centre, helping refugees, or asylum seekers, sorry, find jobs. And I had one organisation that was in the local area that had a eco business selling environmental
mm,
products online, and they wanted to support the centre. So they asked me if I knew, I could place some asylum seekers in, and I was doing this voluntarily in that organisation. And I got chatting with the director there just through the act of doing that. And I was looking for work again at the time myself. So it's in the
mm,
process of sort of building up my business. And so I'm like, who do I know that might need my
mm,
help? And so I emailed the director that I met, whose name was Esther, with an email that said, why not pester Esther? And basically said, really great. Thank you so much for supporting the cause. I'm actually looking for work myself at the moment. So if if you have any opportunities for a talented individual like myself. And she came back, and I got a part-time job out of it. So
mm,
again, I didn't really go into too much depth. I just
mm,
used the fact that we had a relationship, and I knew about
mm.
her business, and I guess had developed that trust through doing
Yeah,
something, giving something. So, you know, we talk about volunteering, but volunteering is a great way to build relationships with people, but also, you know, connect with a whole lot of other businesses often as well, which, you know, that basically worked for me. So, yeah. And I know you recommend to your clients volunteering as well in that kind of
Absolutely.
feel. Yeah.
Absolutely, but at the same time, not volunteering is I recommend it for two reasons. One is obviously to get the local experience in the Australian market, but
Mm,
secondly also to build your confidence and kind of understand how Australian work systems really
mm,
function. uh, at the same time, it does not sort of guarantee you a job through their network in the hidden job market.
mm,
But it just gives you different perspective. It just opens up your mind to a lot of other things that are out there, that the organizations are doing, and identifying some of those problems.
mm.
If I can also then sort of divert the attention a little bit on being creative as
Yeah.
well, because being entrepreneurial also involves that you approach the presentation and the projecting you or promoting you in a bit more creative way than the
Mm,
traditional way, because you and I agree that the traditional way is works, but it takes a while for it to work. You got to be able to find more creative approaches to really reach out to the decision makers effectively.
mm-hmm.
And there are things that in these times that people can do, to really make their mark or to really stand out. One of the thing that I believe that people can do is to create their video pitch
Yep.
on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the platform around this, and with the video feature, I think it makes perfect sense to have a
Yep.
great video pitch. I'm not talking about video resume much. It's kind of resume, but it's more in the domain of pitching, that you're pitching a product, you're pitching yourself to the
Mm,
prospective employees or recruiters. So what are your sort of observations and tips around if somebody wants to, I don't know, do a video pitch, after seeing this LinkedIn live, and they get inspired and they say, I'm going to,
yeah.
do that. What do you think, people should or can talk about or should talk about
Yeah.
in this kind of video pitching?
I think it needs to be the same as, well, actually, just to wind back a little bit, some
Yeah.
organizations actually have, if you're interested in applying here, send a video and tell us how you can help.
Yeah.
So I think if the pitch is about you, right, and you say things like, hi, I'm Carolyn, I'm a great communicator, a great team player, and I've got X years experience in, da 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 da, and I've got this skill, that skill, that skill, that skill. I would tune out pretty quickly from that, because it's just
Mm,
not, you're only ever going to luck it for that to be relevant. I
mm,
would actually say um, something again along the lines of how you might structure that written pitch, and it might be,
mm,
you know say for example, I was sending a video pitch to you. It's like, hi
mm,
Nashad, my name's Carolyn, and I'm sending you this or recording this because I actually really love the work that you do with your career down under, and I'd love to have a chat with you about ways that I could support you with the work that you do. So if you ever have a need for a resume writer or a LinkedIn profile writer, um, I'd really love to have a chat. Now, that said, it really
yeah.
broadly, but
Yeah.
it's a sincerity. It's like, I know your business, I know
Mm,
what you do, and I'd love to have a discussion around. I think there's
yeah.
possibly these three areas, and I'd love to have a discussion around
Yeah.
that, because I've got that track record, and I'd keep it really simple, but make it so personal and
Yeah.
relevant. Like, make it direct, like that
Mm,
that video that you're recording is just to that person, and
yeah.
showing real interest in the work that they do,
Mm,
and maybe identifying two or three ways that you possibly could help with that. Um,
mm.
and getting over
Yeah.
the what is it, the stiffness or the anxiety, or getting over
Yeah.
yourself a bit
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a video, because people really
Yeah.
just want to see that you're a human being, that you've got personality, that you can connect with them and that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I agree.
The pictures that your clients have done that way, have they?
Yeah.
What have they included in them?
So none of my clients have done the video pitching except the
Yeah,
ones that we did with the physical pitches that we did as
yeah,
part of the Australia's Got Fresh Talent.
yeah.
You know, but I think there are two aspects. So you touched upon the other aspect where if I want to work with a company and if I see that the project manager is on LinkedIn is part of my, then I can create a personalized pitch, send it
Mm,
as a message to
mm,
that particular person. The other video pitch is more for general consumption.
mm-hmm,
Is about is creating a real simple story around my name is such and such. What problems do I solve? So I work with telecommunication companies, help them to improve their efficiency around delivering customer service. And I have worked with such and such company, and this is what I've delivered so far. So if you know of any telecommunication company, or if there's anybody in your network that you can tag me with, I'll be I'll be very grateful of that. But creating that kind of video pitch, and I think that LinkedIn has got that kind of power that if people like it, people are going to tag that person in that they know, because it is that kind of amount of risk that you take, and the because it requires a bit more courage
mm,
than just recording it, because then you're
mm,
putting it out there and you're telling the world that you are unemployed, and
mm,
you're really being vulnerable at that situation. But I think it's a well worth taking the risk, because number one is that the traditional job market, the way you're doing it's not working, so you might want to
mm,
try something else. And
mm,
video pitch is in my view, and currently in this environment, I think it's a great differentiator,
mm,
especially on LinkedIn.
mm,
But at the same time, you also want to have a good size of LinkedIn network so that you reach out to more and more people.
mm,
Uh, so if you got 10 people in your network, I would not recommend you to do video pitch
mm,
unless you got few hundred people on it, because
mm,
then there's a chance that the video pitch can reach to the right person.
mm.
And it's just not about that the person will, it's not Hollywood or Bollywood that people will say, hey, I found my next superstar, can you come and work for me, right? That's not
This
how it's
person
going to
is a
work.
business analyst and they can do Bollywood dancing. We've got to have them.
Right? So that's not the point. The point is that the other person gets an interest and say, you know what? Let's have a chat with this person.
Mm,
He or she is struggling. Let's have a chat and see what can be done. I think there is an element in my view,
mm,
Caroline, is the element of what we say, curiosity, the
mm.
element of helping someone. If it's in front of me, then I'll be kind of willing to help them out. So that's my view on video pitching.
Mm.
Something that people can. Any other creative, innovative ideas that you have, your clients or you've implemented?
Yeah, well, a few actually. Again, um, it's sort of like it is a pitch, but it's a pitch that's proving your value, right?
Mm,
So often in this time, I reckon people will be saying, do some work for free type thing,
mm,
to demonstrate your value. Um, So, one of the things that I did as a pitch when I was wanting again to transition out of the corporate world and not too sure about what I wanted to do was I pitched an idea to a relevant, an industry magazine, an HR magazine. And again, it was based on understanding what their needs were, like what their audience
mm,
actually wanted.
mm, mm,
So, and where there was a gap. So the idea basically was that I'd been working, just to give a bit of background, I'd been
sure.
working on a committee at work around getting people to volunteer, and I got very little uptake in my job for that. So I was the thing that I had curiosity about was, how do you actually engage people? How do you get people excited about doing something? Because I was actually failing at that I felt like I was failing at that at the time with the work that I was doing. And I really wanted to write. For some reason, I wanted to write. So I sent an idea to the editor of an HR magazine saying, I've got this problem at work. It's about how to engage people. I'm in HR, and I know a lot of HR policies end up as a bit of paper on a shelf, basically, or a file, or online that nobody looks at. I really think there's a need to help HR managers with how to better engage people. Would you be interested in me writing an article around that, interviewing some top companies? And they said yes to that. So, I gave a little bit of background and said, I've got this experience in writing, and I've got an HR background, So I wrote the article for free, and it took me ages to write, because I was the first thing that I'd ever written. I was so careful. So I interviewed these companies, and I wrote the article for free, and I sent it back, and I said, oh, by the way, do you pay for these? So I didn't actually ask to be paid first off. They're like, oh, no, we don't. Anyway, damn. But they published it, right? So then I had a published track record, and then they offered me more paid work. So that's it. Like, again, the elements in there are understanding what your audience might need. So they actually needed an article for these reasons, because that was something that their audience struggled with, and offering a solution, which was actually writing an article that explored better ways to engage. And, I did it for free. I would have done it for free, but I thought I'd, see if it would pay me. But, they ended up paying me for a whole bunch of articles later on, but which led to something else. So, that's an example of a pitch. And I think sometimes it is, work out what's the best way to get your message across. So if something that's better read, then, write it. If it's something that's better said, like the conversation, with the previous conversation that I mentioned from volunteering was probably a good conversation over the phone, because you can get tone in there. If it's something that you reckon is better for people to watch in a video, do it that way. But think about what's the message and how are people going to receive and best understand the message that I want to get across. But all of those things show that you've done some homework on, organisation in some way. So
Excellent. That's really good. Obviously, another one that I think you've done that, and I've also done it once, is around sending a creative message to to the potential employer or the recruiter, is because we receive so many emails, but we rarely receive a snail mail, something that doesn't come through post for us. Now, obviously there is a postal service, which is currently not working in many parts of the world, and sometimes it might be disruptive right now. But that's one way of really, reaching out to straight to the decision maker. With a return, application, with a return later, a job search later, direct later. What are your suggestions around it? Then I've got a really good story on that. But what are your suggestions on that one?
I've done it a couple of times with clients, and I've actually done it a couple of times myself. So, so it depends on the person. So it depends on the sector, right? So this example with one of my clients was to one of the wine companies, and he'd been working in manufacturing, but he had a great interest in wine. So we sent a letter to this old-fashioned letter to the CEO saying why, like, one, passion for wine, 2, following the developments of the company. 3, these developments have led me to believe that you've got these specific challenges that I can help you with. I'd appreciate,
Mm,
I'm flagging my interest, but I'd appreciate
yeah,
an opportunity to discuss those with you. Because it was a letter, the CEO
yeah,
got it from his EA, open the letter. So it didn't get lost in the email. And it was the type of
exactly.
company who knew that letters would be opened. I don't know why. It was
Yeah,
just the culture of the company. Um, and while he didn't get to have a meeting with the CEO, he had got a meeting with his equivalent in that organisation, and
sure.
a job didn't come out of it, but a relationship did come out of
Yeah,
it. Then who knows where that might end up? So it was kind of
absolutely.
like, again, I wouldn't send a letter to the CEO of Google because whatever,
Sure.
but certainly to the CEO of where you know that the CEO will
Yeah,
actually get to read that, or that letter. Yeah, for sure. That's
yeah,
a
yeah.
strategy that's worked.
Yeah, and also the hiring manager, not necessarily the CEO. If
Yeah,
you
of
are
course.
looking
Yeah,
at work as a project, coordinator, test analyst, business analyst, then you got to
yeah,
think about who will you really approach. And LinkedIn is a great way for you to really figure out the name of the person
yeah.
and then sending it out to them. One of the
It's sort
example
of,
that
can I
I
just,
can do,
oh,
yeah,
sorry, I
yeah,
just
please,
wanted to say something about that, because you've got to send it to the person that will take that letter seriously, right?
mm,
So the
mm,
person that has some power within the organization, the person that would value
yeah,
that, would really appreciate the fact that somebody's interested in that organization. If it's somebody that just doesn't get that, or you suspect won't get it, or has no pride in the
yeah,
organization and what they
yeah.
do, then it's it's a bit of hit
No
and miss.
point.
So yeah, just sorry, I wanted to make that point, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Agree. One of the things that we did with one of my client, and she used to work in a furniture store. This is the work that I did in occupational rehabilitation, and she had an injury that prevented her to continue to work. And she studied architecture before many years back, and when we started to talk about the career options, she said she wants to work as a color host. I did not even know what do we mean by color host. I said,
Yeah.
I don't know. But then she explained that color host is a person who helps new home buyers select the colors of the cabinet, the colors of the walls, the ceiling, and everything to make sure that it matches with everyone and help them to really create the feel of the home.
Mm,
And she had an immense interest, and she has also get an experience because she studied architecture. So obviously these are very specific roles. We looked at for 2 3 months, and there's no job advertised for color
mm,
host, right? So then I said, let's implement a really creative approach. So what we did was, if you go to a trade store, big hardware, so you'll find the color, those cards which are, rectangular in shape, and it's got a ring at the end where you can flick that through. So what we decided is that how about we create a resume like that? Because it does two things. One is it relates to the color part,
mm,
and we created a resume, 15, 20 different slides, which is the 1/4 size of the A4. And we laminated that.
mm.
And we sent it to 5 big builders, in Melbourne, to the HR team, because we didn't know who do we send it to. We just had send it to the HR manager. I found the name on LinkedIn, and
Mm,
we sent it out. So after a week, she received an email from one of the big builder, the
yeah.
human resource manager, and she said that, look, I'm absolutely amazed with the creativity that you demonstrated. I've never in my life have seen anybody present themselves with this kind of creativity.
Mm,
We don't have a position right now available, the position that you are seeking. But if there's anything available, you are the first person that we will call out on you
yeah.
to really, for an interview. And what? what they did to her is that immediately boosted the confidence. She said, "Wow, this works, right? That
mm,
I can have a very creative approach." Now, mind you, that resume to produce costed us $3 to produce the
mm,
whole thing, and probably we spent $2 in sending it. So in $25, we spent it to 5 companies. Now, why am I saying it? Because we feel sometimes that our creative resume might be too expensive, blah blah blah.
mm,
It's not. There are a lot of people have done this kind of work
mm,
to really stand out, and why we are emphasizing on this right now, because we are in unprecedented times.
mm,
It's not that the companies are not hiring or won't hire, but in order for you to really stand out, you got to do things which are different to someone
mm,
else, including myself or including Caroline. We, as a business, owners, we also have to do things which other people don't do.
mm,
So it's not that we are different in a lot of the situations that job seeker face. It's just that we are, in a business domain, and a lot of the work that other people do, they're in job and career domain.
mm,
So that's what I want to leave with, is that it is absolutely fine for you to be creative, and being more different to how do you approach employers.
mm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely, and you'll stand out. But you've got to think about who they are and like
yeah,
understand their business and where what you could offer could fit in to help them do something. Basically, that would be my major tip. One thing I just wanted to pick up on and just talk about before we go is, we talk to people about doing informational interviews, and
yeah,
that's another example of being entrepreneurial. But the question around going and just having a chat to somebody about what they do, often people can't, that's an informational interview. You're finding out some information that could help support you in a career
yeah,
direction. But often people go, well, how does that actually help me find a job?
mm,
So I just wanted to have a chat or give some examples of how you can turn that into a job, and maybe you've got a couple of examples as well, Nash. But um,
yeah,
if you go, I've gone and had caught up with people that I know. Like I've gone and caught up with
mm,
an old boss of mine that I hadn't seen for a number of years, and had a chat just about what they're up to and how they're enjoying life and so forth. And effectively doing an informational interview about what's going on in their business and their sector, and then just kept a very close ear on a few challenges that they were having. So
mm,
one of the questions I think was like, what's going on? What are you finding challenging at the moment,
mm,
given the environment? And then what I did after that was followed up with a really great to catch up again. If you
mm,
need help with that thing that you said, I'd love to be able to
mm,
be kept in mind to help you with that. I think that's something I could help. So no, like a low key, no pressure, but
mm,
understand, what's going on, but essentially like, an informational interview. And it's the
yeah,
same with another one that I did when I wanted to really, explore different career opportunities for
mm,
myself. I went and had a chat to, I was working in recruitment at the time, and I went and had a chat
mm,
to a former colleague that had been working in
mm,
recruitment, but started a magazine, to find out what she loved
yeah,
about
mm,
writing and what it took to be successful. And then said, at the end of that, said, if you've, ever need an article written, please let me know. So,
mm,
in those sorts of meetings, it is about
mm,
asking questions, and the person that you're seeing is the expert of their area, but also listening carefully for anything that they might identify as
yeah,
a, a challenge coming up. So Nash and I, we always talk about doing that kind of informational
yeah.
interviewing. That's the kind of technique that works really well. So there's a great
Absolutely.
saying that I heard once, which was like, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care,
Yeah,
and those
yeah,
sorts of things really work that way.
absolutely,
So, yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that comes to an end of another LinkedIn Live or career care package. We'll be coming to deliver another career care package to your screen tomorrow, 3 p.m. Melbourne time. Tomorrow we'll be talking to someone else about an exciting topic again. So stay tuned. Until we meet again, stay safe, stay healthy, and look after yourself. See you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.